The night sky over New Seattle glowed with the ethereal light of 3 moons, casting long shadows across the bustling spaceport. Sarah Chen, a 35-year-old xenobiologist, hurried through the crowded terminal, her lab coat fluttering behind her. The recent influx of alien refugees had tripled her workload, but she couldn't complain. Earth had finally achieved its long-sought dream of contact with extraterrestrial life, even if it came in the form of desperate survivors fleeing a galactic war. As Sarah neared her lab, a commotion erupted near the refugee processing center. Curious, she approached the growing crowd. In the center stood a small alien child, no taller than a human toddler, with luminous purple skin and large, tear-filled eyes. The alien's 4 arms wrapped tightly around a battered stuffed toy that looked suspiciously like an Earth teddy bear. "Please, someone help!" cried Officer Martinez, the security guard trying to control the situation. "We can't understand her language, and the translation devices are on the fritz again." Sarah's heart clenched. She had seen many alien children over the past few months, but something about this one tugged at her in a way she couldn't explain. Without hesitation, she stepped forward. "I can help," she said, kneeling beside the alien child. "I've been studying their language." The alien's large eyes, swirling with flecks of silver, locked onto Sarah's. A stream of clicks and whistles emerged from what Sarah assumed was its mouth, a small, star-shaped opening near the center of its face. Sarah listened intently, her brow furrowed in concentration. She's saying. She's alone. Her parents, they didn't make it through the wormhole. She paused, her voice catching. She's asking if someone can be her new family. A hush fell over the crowd. The alien child reached out with one of her 4 arms, gently touching Sarah's cheek. In that moment, something shifted in the universe. Sarah felt a connection, a bond forming that defied explanation. "I'll take care of her," Sarah heard herself say, surprising even herself. "At least until we can find her a permanent home." Officer Martinez looked relieved. "Are you sure, Dr. Chen? This is highly irregular, but given the circumstances." Sarah nodded, her decision solidifying with each passing second. "I'm sure. I'll take full responsibility." As the paperwork was hastily processed, Sarah turned her attention back to the alien child. "It's okay," she said softly, hoping her tone would convey what her words couldn't. "You're safe now. I'll take care of you." The alien's whistles took on a softer, almost musical quality. Sarah didn't need a translation to understand the gratitude behind them. "What's your name?" Sarah asked, pointing to herself and saying, "Sarah." The alien child made a series of intricate clicks that Sarah's human vocal cords could never hope to replicate. She smiled apologetically. "I'm afraid I can't pronounce that. Would it be okay if I called you Violet?" She gestured to the child's vibrant purple skin. The newly named Violet nodded enthusiastically, her earlier tears forgotten. Sarah stood, holding out her hand. After a moment's hesitation, Violet took it with one of her lower arms, clutching her stuffed toy with the others. As they left the spaceport, Sarah's mind raced. What had she gotten herself into? She knew nothing about raising a child, let alone an alien one. But looking down at Violet's trusting face, she knew she had made the right choice. The drive home was a silent affair, with Violet staring wide-eyed at the towering buildings and flying vehicles of New Seattle. Sarah's apartment, a modest 2-bedroom unit in a high-rise, suddenly seemed woefully inadequate for an alien child. "Well, here we are," Sarah said as they entered. "Home sweet home." Violet explored the apartment with cautious curiosity, her 4 arms touching everything within reach. Sarah watched, amused, as the alien child discovered the soft cushions of the couch, the smooth surface of the fridge, and the mesmerizing glow of the holoscreen. "Are you hungry?" Sarah asked, pantomiming eating. Violet nodded vigorously. Sarah's heart sank. She had no idea what alien children ate. Would Earth food poison her new charge? She rummaged through her kitchen, finally settling on a bowl of fruit. "Let's start with something simple," she muttered. To her relief, Violet seemed delighted by the colorful array of apples, bananas, and berries. The alien child picked up a strawberry with one hand, sniffed it curiously, then popped it into her star-shaped mouth. Her eyes widened in surprise, then crinkled in what Sarah hoped was enjoyment. As Violet munched happily on the fruit, Sarah's comm unit beeped. It was her boss, Dr. Patel. "Sarah, where are you? We've got a new batch of refugees coming in and we need all hands on deck." Sarah glanced at Violet, who was now attempting to juggle 3 apples with her 4 arms. "I'm taking a personal day, sir. Family emergency." There was a pause on the other end. "Family emergency, but you don't have any fam." Dr. Patel's voice trailed off as realization dawned. "Sarah, please tell me you didn't." "I had to, sir," Sarah replied, her voice firm. She was all alone, and do you have any idea of the ethical implications? The potential security risks? The mountains of paperwork? Sarah watched as Violet, having given up on juggling, began arranging the fruit into intricate patterns on the kitchen floor. "I do, sir, and I'll handle all of it. But right now there's a scared orphan child who needs a home. I couldn't just leave her there." Dr. Patel sighed heavily. "You always were too soft-hearted for your own good, Chen. Fine. Take the week off to get things sorted out. But I expect a full report on my desk when you return." "Thank you, sir. You won't regret this." As Sarah ended the call, she found Violet staring at her, head tilted in curiosity. The alien child pointed at the comm unit, then at Sarah, emitting a series of questioning clicks. "That was my boss," Sarah explained, knowing Violet couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would convey the meaning. "He's given us some time to figure things out." Violet nodded solemnly, then held out a banana to Sarah. The simple gesture of sharing brought tears to Sarah's eyes. She accepted the fruit with a smile, peeling it and taking a bite. As night fell, Sarah faced a new challenge: bedtime. She had cleared out the spare room, which had been serving as a makeshift office, and set up a comfortable nest of blankets and pillows on the floor. Violet seemed fascinated by the soft bedding, running all 4 hands over the different textures. "Sleep," Sarah said, miming the action. Violet watched her intently, then attempted to mimic the motion, closing her large eyes and pretending to snore. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. As she tucked Violet into the nest of blankets, Sarah felt a tug on her sleeve. Violet's eyes were wide and frightened, darting around the unfamiliar room. Sarah understood immediately. The poor child was afraid to be alone. Without hesitation, Sarah grabbed a pillow and settled down next to Violet. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'll stay with you." Violet chirped softly, snuggling close to Sarah. As they lay there in the dark, Sarah found herself humming an old lullaby her own mother used to sing. The alien child's breathing slowed, her grip on her stuffed toy loosening as she drifted off to sleep. Sarah stayed awake long into the night, watching over her unexpected charge. What would tomorrow bring? How would she communicate with Violet? Feed her? Teach her? The challenges seemed insurmountable. But as she looked at the peaceful, sleeping alien child, Sarah knew she would find a way. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Sarah threw herself into researching everything she could on Violet's species, the Zarquin. She learned that they were a peaceful race, known for their advanced empathic abilities and their love of art and music. Their home planet, Zarqua, had been one of the first casualties in the ongoing galactic conflict. Communication remained their biggest hurdle. The standard translation devices struggled with the complex tonal language of the Zarquin, often producing gibberish or worse, completely misinterpreting simple phrases. Sarah found herself relying more and more on intuition and body language to understand Violet's needs. On the 3rd day, a breakthrough came in the form of crayons. Sarah had bought a coloring book and a large box of crayons, hoping to keep Violet entertained while she worked on the mountain of adoption paperwork. To her amazement, Violet didn't just color, she created. The alien child's forearms moved in perfect harmony, each wielding a different colored crayon. Within minutes, the simple line drawings in the coloring book had been transformed into vivid, complex scenes that seemed to leap off the page. Violet chirped excitedly, holding up her creations for Sarah to see. "They're beautiful," Sarah gasped, genuinely awestruck. She pointed to a swirling pattern of blues and greens. "What's this?" Violet's clicks and whistles took on a mournful tone. She pointed to the sky, then back to the drawing. Sarah's heart sank as she realized it was Zarqua, Violet's lost home. "Oh, sweetheart," Sarah murmured, pulling Violet into a hug. The alien child clung to her, all four arms wrapping around Sarah's waist. They stayed like that for a long moment, sharing a grief that needed no translation. From that day on, art became their primary form of communication. Violet would draw elaborate pictures to express her needs, her memories, her fears, and her joys. Sarah, in turn, would sketch out simple representations of Earth concepts, slowly building Violet's understanding of her new home. As the week progressed, Sarah noticed subtle changes in Violet. The alien child seemed to be growing, not just physically, but in confidence and curiosity. She no longer clung to her stuffed toy at all hours, instead leaving it safely on her bed as she explored the apartment and the world beyond. Their first trip to the park was a revelation. Violet was fascinated by the trees, the grass, the flowers, all so different from the flora of her home world. She spent hours examining each leaf and petal, her artist's eye taking in every detail. Other children in the park stared at first, but soon approached, curious about the purple-skinned girl with four arms. To Sarah's surprise and delight, Violet showed no fear. She eagerly joined in their games, her natural agility and extra limbs making her an instant hit in games of tag and catch. By the end of the day, Violet had a group of new friends, and Sarah had the numbers of several understanding parents who offered their support. As the end of Sarah's week off approached, she faced a difficult decision. She had grown to love Violet deeply in their short time together, but was she really equipped to be a full-time parent to an alien child? The adoption paperwork sat on her desk, filled out but unsigned. The night before she was due to return to work, Sarah sat Violet down for a serious talk. Using a combination of drawings, gestures, and the few Zarquan words she had managed to learn, Sarah explained the situation. "Violet," she said, pointing to the paperwork, "I need to know if this is what you want. If you want to stay with me to be—" She hesitated, then drew a simple picture of two stick figures holding hands, one taller than the other. Family. Violet studied the drawing intently, her silver-flecked eyes unreadable. Then, with deliberate care, she picked up a crayon and added to Sarah's drawing. Two more arms sprouted from the smaller figure. Above the picture, in painstakingly formed English letters, Violet wrote a single word: yes. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes. She pulled Violet into a tight hug, feeling the alien child's four arms wrap around her in return. In that moment, all her doubts and fears melted away. They would face whatever challenges came together as a family. The next morning, Sarah marched into Dr. Patel's office, Violet in tow. She placed the signed adoption papers on his desk with a determined thud. "Sir," she said, her voice steady, "I'd like you to meet my daughter, Violet Chen." Dr. Patel looked from Sarah to Violet, then back again. He opened his mouth as if to argue, then closed it, shaking his head with a rueful smile. "I suppose congratulations are in order," he said finally. "Though I hope you realize this will complicate your work considerably." Sarah nodded. "I do, sir, but I also believe it will enhance it. Who better to study and assist alien refugees than someone raising an alien child?" Dr. Patel considered this for a moment, then nodded slowly. You may have a point, Chen. Very well. We'll work out the details of your new, family-friendly schedule. In the meantime, he turned to Violet, his stern expression softening. Welcome to Earth, little one. Violet, who had been quiet throughout the exchange, suddenly burst into a series of excited clicks and whistles. To everyone's shock, the universal translator in Dr. Patel's office crackled to life, producing a stream of broken English. Thank you. Happy. New home. New family. Sarah. Mother. Earth. Beautiful. Want to learn. Want to help. Others like me? Need home too? Can I help? Sarah and Dr. Patel stared at each other in amazement. Violet's natural empathic abilities seemed to have allowed her to bridge the gap that technology couldn't, expressing complex thoughts and emotions in a way the translator could understand. Well, Dr. Patel said, a hint of excitement creeping into his voice. It seems we have a lot to learn from your daughter, Dr. Chen. Perhaps a joint research project is in order. As they left the office, plans already forming for a new initiative to better integrate alien refugees, Sarah felt a tugging on her lab coat. She looked down to see Violet gazing up at her, eyes shining with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Mother, Violet clicked softly, the translator rendering the word with perfect clarity. Sarah knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with her alien daughter. Yes, Violet, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I'm your mother now, if that's what you want. Violet's response needed no translation. She threw herself into Sarah's arms, all four limbs wrapping tightly around her new mother. Sarah held her close, marveling at the strange and wonderful turn her life had taken. As they walked hand in hand and hand in hand, through the halls of the research center, Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. There would be challenges ahead, certainly. Raising a child was never easy, let alone an alien child with unique needs and abilities. But there would also be joy, discovery, and love. Violet skipped alongside her, chattering excitedly in her clicking language about all the things she wanted to learn and do. Sarah listened, her heart swelling with pride and affection. She had set out to study alien life, to bridge the gap between worlds. She never imagined that in doing so, she would find a daughter, a new purpose, and a love that transcended the boundaries of species. As they stepped out into the sunlight, Sarah looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the blue, lay Violet's home world and countless others. Worlds full of children who, like Violet, needed hope, safety, and love. It was a daunting task, but looking at her daughter's shining face, Sarah knew they were up to the challenge. Come on, Violet, she said, squeezing the alien child's hand gently. Let's go home. Violet squeezed back with all four hands, her silver-flecked eyes twinkling. Home, she repeated in carefully practiced English. With you, Mother. Always. As they walked towards their future together, Sarah realized that in saving Violet, she had also saved herself. She had found a new family, a new purpose, and a new understanding of what it meant to be human in a vast and wondrous universe. The sun set on New Seattle, painting the sky in hues of purple that matched Violet's skin. But for Sarah and her alien daughter, it was a new dawn, the beginning of a grand adventure that would change not just their lives, but the lives of countless others across the stars. For in opening her heart to one small orphaned alien, Sarah had taken the first step in healing the wounds of a war-torn galaxy.